Gender insight helps us to be more tolerant and forgiving when someone responds in a way we don't think he or she should. John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Today, I want to talk to you about the difference in how men and women communicate. This will include how men communicate, how women communicate, and the differences of communication around the world. How men communicate differs from how women communicate. It's been found and in fact drilled into our heads from an early age that men are a lot harder in their approach to communication, whereas women are softer. A woman tends to be more empathetic, a man tends to be more logical. According to Psychology Today, in 2016, a study showed that yes, in fact, men are logical thinkers. They tend to create a process to go through to get to an end result. When you ask a man a question, he's going to give you the logical answer that comes to his mind. He's not going to think about it on an emotional level. His first thought is to solve the problem. Now, according to Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, John Gray goes on to state that men are goal-oriented. They have an end in sight that they want to reach, which in their communication style makes sense. They want to figure out how to get from point A to point B in the most logical manner and get their point across in that manner. Women, however, tend to be very emotionally invested in the way they communicate. In the same article by Psychology Today in 2016, women were found to be more inquisitive. They were found to ask questions and take suggestions as well. They were more empathetic. Now, again, in Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, it was stated that women were also relationship oriented. They had to, in fact, think on the emotional level, and it differed considerably towards how a man thought. Whereas a man was goal-oriented, a woman thought empathetically. She put her emotions in the mix. So it differed and it was confusing, and this is where a lot of our communication barriers come in because of the differences in how we think, which influences how we communicate. Now, the differences around the world, however, there was a study done by the National Communication Association in 2011 where they studied people in America, people in Africa, and then people in Brazil. In America, just as aforementioned, men and women communicated very differently. Men thought logically and loudly communicated, while women were softer and more quiet in their communication and thinking. Africa, it was very similar, but men tended to also be softer with their communication, and women also tended to be louder with their communication. In Brazil, however, it was found that, in fact, men were softer in their communication and women were louder just as much as they were any other time with the same sex. They were the same way with the opposite sex. So it proved that it just depended on where you were in the world as to how the communication differed between each sex, because it was never the same in two countries. Today I talked to you about how men and women communicate, how men communicate, how women communicate, and the differences around the world. When we correctly interpret the situation, we find it's not as bad as what we thought. John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.